Dr. Elena Reyes rubbed her bloodshot eyes as the decoded alien message continued to scroll across her screens. The Coalition's warning was more detailed than she had initially realized. The Voidborn had already consumed over 300 worlds, their systematic approach to conquest leaving nothing but stripped planets and extinguished civilizations in their wake. "They're coming here next, aren't they?" asked General Santos, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of the monitors. Elena nodded grimly. Within 6 months, according to these calculations. The Coalition delegation established a temporary embassy in Geneva, their strange anatomies drawing equal parts wonder and fear from the gathered humans. The lead ambassador, a being composed of crystalline structures that shifted and realigned as it spoke, addressed the United Nations Security Council with translator devices converting its harmonic language into human speech. "Our civilizations have fought the Voidborn for 73 of your years," the ambassador explained, projecting holographic battle footage that made hardened military leaders pale. "We are losing this war not through lack of technology, but through lack of unpredictability. The Voidborn calculate every variable, anticipate every strategy our logical systems devise." The Brazilian representative leaned forward. "And what makes you think we can help? Your ships travel between stars. We've barely reached Mars." The ambassador's crystalline form pulsed with light patterns that the translators interpreted as something akin to hope. "We have studied your species for decades. You possess qualities that fascinate and confound us. You make intuitive leaps without sufficient data. You create art that serves no practical purpose. You persist against impossible odds, and you develop technologies along unpredictable paths." Murmurs filled the chamber until the Chinese delegate raised her hand. "If you've been watching us, then you know we aren't united. We fight amongst ourselves over resources, ideologies, borders." "Yes," the ambassador replied. "And that too is valuable. Your conflicts have forged adaptability. Where our species specialize, you generalize. Where we optimize, you improvise." The debate might have continued for weeks if not for what happened next. Emergency alarms blared through the complex as satellite feeds showed a massive object decelerating near Earth's moon. The object, angular, black, and impossibly large, positioned itself in high orbit, ignoring all communication attempts. The Coalition ambassadors recognized it immediately. Voidborn dreadnought. They'd found us sooner than anticipated. Before evacuation protocols could be implemented, the Voidborn ship fired a single concentrated energy beam at the Coalition's diplomatic vessel hovering above the Atlantic. The destruction was absolute. The elegant alien craft vaporized in seconds, debris and radiation cascading through the atmosphere in a horrifying light show visible across 3 continents. The transmission that followed reached every electronic device on Earth simultaneously, a cold, precisely modulated voice speaking in perfect English. "Your species has been categorized as developmentally insufficient, but potentially disruptive. The Coalition's assessment of your value is flawed. Integration with inferior species contaminates galactic order." This demonstration was taxonomically necessary. Full species removal will commence in 31 of your days. Resistance is statistically futile. The transmission ended as abruptly as it began, leaving stunned silence across the globe. 12 hours later, as governments worldwide declared states of emergency, the first 200 human volunteers stepped forward to join the Coalition's remaining ships. Among them, Dr. Elena Reyes and former Special Forces operative Marcus Chen exchanged determined glances. Humanity had just been sentenced to extinction by beings who thought in pure statistics. Perhaps that was exactly why humans might be the one species capable of proving them wrong. Marcus Chen watched with fascination as Coalition medical officers inspected the results of his physical assessment, their multifaceted eyes blinking in astonishment. "Your endocrine response to stress is remarkable," said the chief physician, a being with translucent skin that revealed pulsing internal organs. "Most species either shut down or experience system failures under prolonged duress. Your body releases compounds that actually enhance performance. Adrenaline, Marcus explained. Evolution's way of keeping us alive when things get ugly. The physician tilted its elongated head. But the cognitive costs must be enormous. Sometimes, Marcus admitted, but that's where training comes in. Across the vast chamber, other humans were undergoing similar evaluations. A college gymnast demonstrated flexibility that left avian coalition members trilling in surprise. And elderly chess grandmasters solved complex tactical simulations using intuitive approaches that confused the coalition's battle computers. The true revelation came during the neural interface tests. Coalition technology relied on direct mental connection, a system their engineers claimed would take humans decades to master. Sofia Okafor, the young engineering student from Lagos, was the first to try. "I don't understand your hesitation," she said when warned about the complexity. "It's just another user interface." She placed the neural band around her forehead, closed her eyes, and within minutes was navigating the coalition's systems with growing confidence. Within an hour, she was suggesting improvements. "Your navigation paths are too linear," she explained to the stunned coalition engineers. "If you structure them more like a neural network." Her fingers danced across the holographic display, rearranging command pathways until the system pulsed with new efficiency. "Impossible," whispered the lead engineer. "A beam composed of metallic filaments constantly rearranging themselves." She restructured connections that took our ancestors centuries to optimize. Alina found Marcus later that evening in the observation deck, staring at the unfamiliar stars. Earth was just a pale blue dot from their position at the edge of the solar system. "They still don't quite believe in us," she said, joining him at the viewport. Marcus nodded. "Can you blame them? They've been fighting this war since before the Wright brothers took flight. We're newcomers with primitive technology. But that's exactly why we might help them win," Alina replied. "I've been studying void-born communication patterns. They're perfectly structured, mathematically precise in every way. And that's a weakness." Alina smiled. "It is when you're fighting an enemy that doesn't know the rules. Humans have always excelled at breaking systems we don't fully understand." Their conversation was interrupted when alarms echoed through the ship. The massive vessel shuddered as artificial gravity momentarily fluctuated. Commander Xalther's crystalline voice resonated through the communication system. "Battle stations. Voidborn attack force detected. All coalition personnel to designated emergency positions." Marcus and Alina exchanged glances. They had no designated positions. The coalition hadn't integrated humans into their defense protocols yet. "I think it's time to show them what humans do best," Marcus said, heading toward the door. Alina raised an eyebrow. "And what's that exactly?" "Improvise," he replied with a grim smile, "and survive when the odds say we shouldn't." As they raced through corridors increasingly filled with organized chaos, an explosion rocked the ship. Coalition crew members moved with practiced precision while the humans watched, uncertain of their role in this alien battlefield, about to learn firsthand why the Voidborn were so feared and why humanity's unpredictability might be the only hope against an enemy that had calculated every possible response except the human one. Crimson emergency lighting bathed the corridors as Marcus led his hastily assembled team through maintenance tunnels, so narrow that coalition species couldn't navigate them efficiently. The ship shuddered under another barrage of Voidborn weapons fire. "You're violating direct orders," hissed a multi-limbed security officer through their communication devices. "Return to your designated safe zone immediately." "With respect," Marcus replied, squeezing through a junction designed for maintenance drones. "Your safe zones will become death traps if those defense cannons aren't redirected." The security officer's protests faded as the humans pushed deeper into the ship's infrastructure. Lian Wei, a former satellite engineer from Shanghai, studied the schematics they'd memorized during orientation. "2 more junctions, then we should reach the auxiliary control node," she said, voice steady despite the chaos around them. When they arrived at the node, a spherical chamber filled with crystalline control interfaces, They found it abandoned, its systems locked down per standard coalition protocol during attacks. Standard for them, opportunity for humans. Wei, Jackson, get those panels open, Marcus ordered. Diaz, keep watch at the junction. Nguyen, help me with the physical connections. While coalition crew followed rigidly optimized emergency procedures that had worked for centuries, the humans improvised. Wei bypassed security protocols that assumed coalition physiological limitations. Jackson, a former electrician, rerouted power using methods that violated coalition engineering principles, but worked nonetheless. Got it, Wei announced as the control crystals pulsed with renewed energy. We have limited access, but I can't get into the targeting matrix. Marcus smiled grimly. We don't need the computers. We'll target manually. Across the ship in the communications hub, Alina worked frantically to understand the flood of voidborne transmissions. Coalition analysts had abandoned their posts to implement evacuation protocols, leaving her alone with the raw data. She noticed something odd, subtle frequency shifts that followed a pattern not unlike Morse code. The Coalition's advanced algorithms missed it because they were programmed to seek complex encryption, not simple rhythmic variations that reminded her of heartbeats. They're coordinating their attacks through pulse patterns, she realized, quickly mapping the frequencies against upcoming strike formations. She patched into the emergency channel. Marcus, are you connected to the defense grid yet? Partially, his voice crackled. We can aim but can't identify targets through the interference. I can see them, Alina replied, sending the frequency map to his terminal. Their formations follow these pulses. Next attack coming from coordinates I'm sending now. In the auxiliary control node, Marcus and his team manually adjusted massive defense cannons using Alina's predictions rather than the ship's tactical computers. The Coalition's rigid battle doctrine called for systematic defensive patterns. The humans instead aimed where the Voidborn would be, not where they were. When the Voidborn ships appeared precisely where Alina predicted, the redirected cannons fired immediately. No targeting delay, no predictable defense algorithms for the Voidborn to counter. 3 enemy vessels erupted in silent explosions. On the bridge, Commander Xalthir watched in bewilderment as defense systems they hadn't activated somehow engaged enemy ships with unprecedented accuracy. How is this possible? The commander demanded. Those systems were locked down. A junior officer's crystalline form pulsed with agitation. The humans, Commander. They've bypassed protocols and are operating the auxiliary cannons manually. Xalthir's response was interrupted by another successful hit against a Voidborn cruiser. The commander made a decision that would forever alter Coalition military doctrine. Give them full access, Xalthir ordered, and find more humans for the other defense stations. Immediately, the reconnaissance vessel slipped silently through the debris field surrounding the liberated Proxima system. 6 months of human integration had transformed Coalition battle tactics, with this mission representing their most ambitious intelligence-gathering effort yet. Marcus studied the sensor readings from his command chair, the neural interface now feeling as natural as his own limbs. Picking up unusual energy signatures from the fourth moon, reported Lieutenant Kira Yamamoto, her fingers dancing across the holographic controls. Doesn't match any known Voidborn patterns. Stealth approach, Marcus ordered. Let's get a closer look before reporting back. The human-piloted vessel executed a series of random course corrections, a technique developed by Coalition engineers working with human pilots. Unlike the mathematically perfect evasive patterns previously used, these human-inspired maneuvers incorporated deliberate inefficiencies and spontaneous changes that confounded Voidborn targeting systems. As they approached the moon, the sensor officer, a Coalition member whose translucent exoskeleton pulsed with nervous energy, detected something alarming. Energy signature shifting, Captain. It's adapting to our scan patterns. Marcus immediately recognized the danger. Evasive action. Full-spectrum communications blackout. His order came seconds too late. A brilliant pulse erupted from the moon's surface, bathing their ship in cascading waves of energy that bypassed their shields completely. Critical systems failed simultaneously as the vessel tumbled out of control. "They've been studying us," Marcus realized as emergency lighting flickered on. "They've adapted." The ship's engines sputtered back to minimal function, but before they could retreat, 3 void-born vessels materialized from hidden positions. Unlike the angular warships they'd faced before, these were sleek, organic shapes with pulsing surfaces that seemed to absorb light. "New design," Yamamoto whispered. "They've been holding back." Marcus activated emergency protocols. Prepare memory wipe sequence. No coalition intelligence can fall into void-born hands. The ship's AI began purging sensitive data as the crew prepared for their final stand. Marcus opened a secure channel to Coalition Command, transmitting their coordinates and a warning about the new void-born capabilities. "This is Reconnaissance Vessel Horizon. We've encountered evolved void-born technology. Recommend immediate tactical reassessment. We won't be making it." The transmission cut short as a precision strike disabled their communications array. The void-born vessels surrounded them, deploying not destructive weapons, but a containment field that immobilized their ship completely. "They're not destroying us," the sensor officer observed with growing dread. "They want us intact." "Specifically, they want us," Marcus corrected, understanding dawning. "The humans." Hours later, after failed attempts to break free, the hull breach alarms sounded. Void-born boarding parties, entities in seamless metallic suits, methodically secured the vessel. Unlike previous encounters where the Void-born eliminated all opposition, these invaders used precision stunning weapons that left crew members unconscious but alive. Marcus fought alongside his team until the bitter end, but one by one, the humans were separated from their coalition crewmates and placed in specialized containment pods. His last conscious thought before the stasis field took effect was the disturbing realization that the Void-born weren't just adapting to human tactics, they were studying humans themselves. In a cold laboratory deep within the massive Void-born research installation, Marcus awoke strapped to an examination table. Instruments of unknown purpose hung above him, and surrounding the table stood a dozen Void-born observers, their featureless helmets tilted in what almost seemed like curiosity. "Human specimen secured," announced a perfectly modulated voice. "Commence comprehensive neural mapping. Priority directive. Isolate and identify the unpredictability factor." Coalition scientist Sizzle-9 expanded its gelatinous form to encompass more monitoring equipment, multiple appendages simultaneously adjusting holographic displays showing brain scans of human volunteers. Elena observed from a small distance, fascinated by the being's ability to process multiple data streams simultaneously. "The correlation is undeniable," Sizzle-9 announced, its translator converting vibrations into human speech. When human subjects experience strong emotional states, particularly those you call anger and hope, the resulting neural patterns generate interference waves that disrupt Void-born telepathic networks. Commander Xalther's crystalline form shifted hues as the implications became clear. "You're suggesting we weaponize human emotions." "Precisely," Elena interjected, stepping forward to highlight a particular scan. The Void-born purged emotions from their evolutionary development, seeing them as inefficient. Their networked consciousness operates on pure logic. They literally cannot comprehend emotional responses. The engineering team worked tirelessly to develop the first prototype, Psi-Amplifier, a sleek headset that captured and magnified emotional neural patterns. Initial tests exceeded expectations, with even mild emotional responses creating disruption fields capable of temporarily disabling Void-born technology at short range. Meanwhile, aboard the Void-born research vessel, Marcus endured his third consecutive interrogation session. The clinical precision of his captors made the experience all the more terrifying. They showed neither cruelty nor compassion, merely methodical curiosity. "Your neural pathways exhibit chaotic patterns during decision-making," stated his primary examiner, a tall Voidborn whose helmet occasionally displayed scrolling data. Yet you consistently achieve optimal outcomes. Explain this contradiction. Marcus remained silent, conserving his strength. He had noticed something peculiar during the examinations. When pain triggered intense emotional responses, the nearest Voidborn sometimes stepped back, their movements momentarily hesitant, as if experiencing interference. During a particularly invasive neural scan, Marcus deliberately focused on memories of his brother's death in combat years earlier. The surge of grief and rage flooded his consciousness. Unexpectedly, the scanning equipment overloaded, and the Voidborn examiner physically recoiled, helmeted head tilting in what appeared to be disorientation. The observation room's lights flickered momentarily before stabilizing. Marcus filed away this reaction, a plan forming in his mind. That night, when most systems operated at reduced capacity, Marcus induced an intense emotional state by mentally reliving the most traumatic experiences of his life. The security field around his containment cell fluctuated just long enough for him to slip his restraints. Moving with practiced stealth, he disabled the guard and used the stolen access key to release the other human prisoners. They react to our emotions, he explained hurriedly to the assembled group. Strong feelings, especially negative ones, disrupt their systems somehow. Dr. Layla Hassan, a neurobiologist among the captives, nodded in understanding. It makes evolutionary sense. If they eliminated emotions as inefficient, they'd also eliminate neural pathways for processing emotional input from others. Our emotional responses are alien to their biology. The escaped humans moved through the vast ship, using maintenance conduits similar to those they'd navigated on coalition vessels. When they encountered Voidborn security teams, the humans didn't just fight physically. They projected rage, desperation, and determined hope. The combined emotional assault created enough disruption for them to overcome technologically superior opponents. In the ship's communication center, Marcus established a heavily encrypted connection to coalition frequencies. "This is Captain Chen with critical intelligence," he transmitted. "The Voidborn have a critical weakness: human emotions. They can't process them. They affect their neural networks directly. We need extraction, but more importantly, we need to weaponize this discovery. Send the details to Dr. Reyes immediately." The Coalition strike force emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Rigel system, a formation of 30 vessels with distinctive modifications to their hull designs. Inside the command ship, Commander Xalthir addressed the assembled human Psi operators. "The Voidborn have fortified this system extensively," the crystalline being's translator conveyed. "Their predictive models will anticipate our standard approach vectors. What they cannot anticipate is you." In specialized chambers throughout the fleet, humans connected to Psi amplifiers prepared for battle. The technology had advanced rapidly since the initial prototypes, now capable of focusing and directing specific emotional frequencies with unprecedented precision. Lieutenant Sofia Rodriguez settled into her amplifier chair, neural interface connecting with a gentle hum. Around her, 11 other humans did the same, each specializing in different emotional projections. Her specialty was calculated determination, a uniquely human blend of resolve, focus, and adaptability that the Voidborn found particularly disruptive. "Psi-Team ready," she reported, closing her eyes as the ship's systems fed her tactical data directly into her consciousness. The Voidborn detected the coalition force exactly as predicted, their defense fleet forming perfect geometric patterns designed to counter known attack strategies. What they couldn't prepare for was the invisible assault that preceded conventional weapons. Sophia and her team projected concentrated emotional waves, precisely targeting Voidborn command vessels. The effects rippled through enemy formations instantly. Communication systems faltered as Voidborn neural networks experienced cascading disruptions. Some ships fired on allied vessels, others shut down critical systems, and several simply drifted, their crews temporarily incapacitated by the unfamiliar neural patterns flooding their collective consciousness. "Primary defense grid compromised," reported a coalition tactical officer. Voidborne coordination efficiency reduced by 63%. Commander Xalthar's crystalline form pulsed with blue light. Commence primary attack sequence. Target their logistical infrastructure. Coalition forces surged forward, exploiting gaps in the formerly impenetrable Voidborne defense grid. For the first time in recorded history, Voidborne vessels broke formation, some retreating in disarray rather than maintaining their typically perfect battle doctrine. Meanwhile, on the stolen Voidborne scout ship, Marcus and the escaped prisoners navigated through hostile territory. Dr. Hassan had developed a rudimentary emotional projection technique without technology, teaching the humans to focus and direct their emotional states through meditation techniques. Approaching Coalition space, announced former Lieutenant Kagoa from the navigation console. But we got a patrol blocking our trajectory. Marcus made a decision that would have been deemed irrational by both Coalition and Voidborne tactical standards. Take us directly toward them, maximum speed. The small scout ship accelerated toward the much larger Voidborne patrol vessels. Just before entering weapons range, Marcus gave the order, "Now." The humans aboard projected a synchronized wave of defiance and absolute conviction, emotions so foreign to Voidborne experience that the patrol vessel's systems experienced momentary disruption. The scout ship slipped past before the Voidborne could recover. When they finally reached Coalition space, Marcus transmitted the navigational data his team had managed to extract from Voidborne systems during their captivity, critical intelligence revealing primary staging areas and fleet movements. Coalition Strategic Command incorporated this information with the new emotional disruption tactics to formulate Operation Prometheus, the most ambitious counteroffensive in the war's history. For the first time, the strategic displays showed more green Coalition-controlled systems than red Voidborne ones. As the operation launched, deep within the ancient chambers housing the Voidborne hierarchy, 12 primary decision nodes convened in rare physical proximity. Their analysis identified a critical new variable in the conflict equation, an unpredictable factor that threatened their entire conquest methodology. Consensus achieved. Their collective voice announced to the assembled war command, "Human emotional contamination represents primary tactical threat. All conquest fronts temporarily suspended. Redirect 87% of available forces to target Earth." The Voidborne assault on Mumbai had reached its third day, their ground forces methodically advancing through the city's northern districts. 14-year-old Prisha Patil hunched over her brother's gaming console, fingers flying across the interface as she coordinated civilian evacuation routes around Voidborne patrols. "I've got 37 families trapped in Dadar," she announced to the makeshift command center. Once a shopping mall, now filled with repurposed commercial technology. Voidborne sentries are moving clockwise on 6-minute intervals. Retired Colonel Mehta examined the holographic display Prisha had created by linking dozens of gaming systems together. "There's a maintenance tunnel under Dadar Station. Can you guide them there?" Prisha nodded, connecting to the civilian group through salvaged communication equipment. Around her, similar scenes played out worldwide. Ordinary citizens repurposing everyday technology in ways the Voidborne couldn't anticipate. Their tactical algorithms expected military responses, not civilian ingenuity. In rural Brazil, farmers had converted crop-dusting drones into surveillance networks, providing real-time intelligence to resistance fighters. In Tokyo, engineers had reprogrammed construction mechs to create mobile barricades that protected evacuation corridors. Globally, humans demonstrated the adaptability that had first interested the Coalition. From the hidden Coalition outpost beneath the Antarctic ice shelf, Alina worked furiously to decipher the massive streams of Voidborne communication data flowing during the Earth offensive. Coalition quantum computers processed patterns seeking tactical information, but Alina's mind made connections the machines missed. "There's mathematical consistency in these transmission bursts," she explained to the Coalition analysts. "Not just tactical data, but system architecture information." Her breakthrough came on the invasion's 5th day. Analyzing seemingly random fluctuations in voidborne communication patterns, she identified a centralized command structure previously unknown to Coalition intelligence. "They're being controlled from a single hub," she announced, projecting coordinates onto the strategic display. "All voidborne ships, their entire collective consciousness, routes through this location." The coordinates pointed to an ancient structure orbiting a neutron star in a remote system, previously dismissed as a natural formation. Coalition astronomers hastily reanalyzed their data, confirming Elena's discovery. "This changes everything," the Coalition commander acknowledged. "But we lack sufficient forces to strike this target while defending Earth." Elena established communication with Marcus, now leading Coalition rapid response forces near Jupiter. "I'm sending coordinates for what appears to be the Voidborne Central Command Hub. All their communications route through this location." Marcus studied the data, already formulating a plan. A strike team could infiltrate while their forces are committed to Earth. If we could disrupt their command structure. "Exactly," Elena confirmed. "But standard Coalition tactics won't work. We need human unpredictability." "I'll assemble a team," Marcus decided. "Coalition specialists with complementary abilities, plus our best human operatives." As Earth's defenses strained under relentless bombardment, Marcus's infiltration vessel departed Jupiter space, utilizing stealth technology developed through human Coalition collaboration. The experimental ship, smaller than standard Coalition craft, but uniquely customized, accelerated toward the coordinates Elena provided. On its bridge, Marcus briefed the diverse team, humans alongside specialized Coalition beings, each selected for unique abilities that complemented the mission requirements. "Standard infiltration protocols won't work against their central command," he explained. "We'll need to improvise, adapt, and use approaches no logical species would consider. We need to think like humans, not soldiers." Lieutenant Kira Yamamoto, who had survived the reconnaissance vessel capture with Marcus, examined the limited intelligence they had on the target. "So we're planning to infiltrate the most heavily secured voidborne installation in the galaxy, with minimal intelligence, while outgunned and outnumbered." Marcus nodded. "Exactly." "Good," she replied with a grim smile. "They'll never expect that." The ancient structure housing Voidborne Central Command loomed before them, a massive crystalline lattice orbiting the neutron star, pulsing with energy that seemed to bend light around its edges. Marcus led his infiltration team through a maintenance access point identified by Coalition intelligence, their specialized environmental suits protecting them from the intense radiation. "Security systems are unlike anything we've encountered," whispered Lieutenant Yamamoto, scanning the internal architecture with modified Coalition technology. "Layered defenses, probably based on logical progression patterns." Beside her, a Coalition specialist named Sktrel, whose insectoid form could phase through certain energy barriers, chittered softly. "Logical progression is predictable. We need human intuition here." Marcus nodded, studying the internal layout. Coalition infiltration protocols would approach systematically, working through each security layer methodically. Exactly what the Voidborn would expect. Instead, he chose a different approach. "We're going straight through the center," he announced, pointing to what appeared to be the most heavily defended section. "They'll expect us to avoid high-security areas. We'll do the opposite." The team moved with practiced precision, humans and Coalition specialists complementing each other's abilities. When they encountered automated defense systems, the humans didn't try to defeat them technologically. They confused them with illogical movements and contradictory actions that the systems couldn't properly categorize as threats. As they penetrated deeper, the architecture changed, becoming more organic, with pulsing crystalline veins carrying what appeared to be data rather than energy. Dr. Hassan studied the patterns with growing excitement. "This isn't just a command center," she realized. "It's their collective consciousness, the hub of their networked minds." The central chamber revealed an awe-inspiring sight, thousands of suspended Voidborn in a state between consciousness and hibernation, their minds linked to form the command intelligence guiding their entire species. Crystal columns rose from floor to ceiling, each containing hundreds of connected Voidborn, their helmeted heads tilted slightly downward, as if in eternal contemplation. "The modified Psi amplifier," Marcus said quietly, turning to Dr. Hassan. "Will it work here?" She nodded, removing the device from its protective case. Alina had redesigned it based on their discoveries, no longer just broadcasting specific emotional states, but capable of transmitting the full spectrum of human emotional experience directly into the Voidborn network. "I need volunteers," Hassan explained. "The amplifier will scan your complete emotional landscape, all your memories, feelings, hopes, fears, and transmit them directly into their collective consciousness." Marcus stepped forward without hesitation. "I'll do it." Not alone, Yamamoto joined him. Different emotional perspectives will create more disruption. One by one, both humans and coalition team members volunteered. Each brought unique emotional experiences: joy, grief, love, wonder, curiosity, fear, hope. Emotions the Voidborn had purged from their species millennia ago in the pursuit of perfect logical efficiency. As Dr. Hassan activated the device, it hummed with increasing intensity. The volunteers stood in a circle, each connected to the central amplifier, their minds open and emotional states accessible. When the transmission began, cascading waves of light pulsed through the crystalline columns, spreading outward through the vast network of connected Voidborn. The effect rippled across space instantaneously. On Earth, Voidborn ships suddenly ceased fire. In mid-battle engagements throughout the galaxy, Voidborn forces became motionless, their perfect formations dissolving as the emotional awakening reached every connected mind in their species. Within the central chamber, the suspended Voidborn began to stir. Rather than the catastrophic system collapse they had expected, Marcus witnessed something far more profound: the beginning of an evolutionary reawakening.